relationship goals. So yesterday we looked at our vocation. Is that correct? Yes. Yesterday we looked at our vocational goals, and there was quite a lot for us to go through, answer some questions as it pertains to our job, our aspirations, and then our businesses for those who are in business. And today we hope to detail our relationship goal. So in looking at relationship goals, there are many relationships, of course, that might want to look at. I did not include friends and other acquaintances because I felt that it is probable that when you were doing your social media goal, or not social media, your social goal, you may have included it there. But I just felt that these were like the three significant areas for now that we might want to look at. So even if you're not married, I think you can still work on answering the questions to the extent that you can, which is basically, this is my ideal situation. So ideally, this is an exercise that should be done with your husband or wife, if you're a man, because marriage is a two-way street. It's not the best when it's only one person setting a goal for two people, because when you have a buy-in of your partner, then there's a higher chance that goal will be accomplished. All right, but it is better at least that one person is setting a goal than nobody setting a goal at all. So there are questions that I have outlined that I feel we should look at and which would help us in setting our goals ultimately when you try to work on those questions. So first question says, if we continue this way in this marriage, where is this marriage heading towards? Will it be heading towards success or failure? So if we maintain the status quo and we do nothing, are we on the right path? Are we maturing together? Are we growing together? Is it a positive trajectory? So that is a question you want to answer. It's not a yes or no answer. It should actually be a question for you to describe or talk about. It says, if we have we moved from I to we in our relationship? That again reflects the maturity of a relationship. If there isn't a sense of individualism, but there's a sense of we are doing this together, we are working this together, then you can begin to say, yes, we are jointly pushing this union forward. Do we have the same vision with regards to how our relationship would be? I was careful not to say, do we have the same vision in a broad sense, because it might mean that, are we asking about, do you have the same vision in your business, for example, or in career? You probably don't. But as far as the relationship is concerned, do you have like a common point? Maybe not everything, but do you have like what is called the North Star, which is, okay, at least both of us are heading here. Both of us agree on this particular direction as far as our relationship is concerned. Am I satisfied with our sexual life? I initially wrote, are we satisfied? But I thought, well, you can't answer for your partner. Your partner is the one that will say yes or no. So you are the one to answer, is this working for me? Do we complement each other spiritually? And this is very key, because some people might be married to unbelievers. Some people might be married to people of, maybe you're all Christians, but it's just that your doctrinal leaning is different. Whatever the situation might be, is there a common point? So what we are looking out for here is, are there common points? So even though there might be divergent views as far as spirituality is concerned? Are there any common points that you can say, okay, at least concerning this one, we both agree to it? Do we complement each other intellectually? And what do I mean by that? It is frustrating if one partner is growing intellectually and the other person is not. It creates a gap. Now, growing intellectually doesn't mean that you are both learning the same thing, as it were, but you could both decide that you want to grow together in a particular area. Because if I am at school and I'm doing a master's or a PhD, then definitely I'm growing intellectually. And you might not grow the same way unless you also go and do a master's or a PhD. Then maybe you can say, okay, you're both having similar intellectual prowess. But you can both say, you know something, can we grow our intelligence in the area of finances? Can we grow intelligence in the area of conflict resolution? Can we grow our intelligence in the area of the word? Whatever it is, there's something that if you can say you want to gain knowledge on together. That way, you're jointly growing intellectually. Are we complementing each other physically? And that reminds me of, a time when I had to tell my husband that, because he likes me bigger than this. And I used to have to tell him that this thing can't last like this. You do not meet me this size. I need to drop, but in his mind, he felt that, what are you looking for? I'm happy with the way you are. I'm not the one putting pressure on you. And I had to keep saying, it's not pressure. Even for health reasons, I should not be this big. So in terms of complementing each other, you need to ask yourself those questions. And we had to have a discussion for me to explain why I needed to lose weight, and he accepted that. But at the same time, I also wanted him to lose weight in certain areas, because at a point he was growing a pot which he never had before. So I also had to have a conversation about that. And we need to cut down on the carbs, eat certain kinds of foods, and then he lost weight on his belly. And I remember when he returns to Nigeria, and he would come and say, I don't know what happened to people. All of them seem to have one belly. I'm like, oh, really? Now you can talk about it, but you knew the struggle we had in getting you to have, reduced tummy. Complementing each other physically is very important. So whatever yours may be, it may be weight, it may be whatever, what is important in your relationship, but you need to ask yourself those questions. And you need to ask each other, are you happy with this? And in case you need to set a goal in that area. A question is, what does my spouse need from me this year? How do I support my spouse this year? What is it that I need to do this coming year that my spouse will feel that, yes, I'm complimenting my spouse, I am being present, I'm being supportive. And you see, when you start getting to 5, 10, 15, 20 years of marriage and more, there's a tendency to just maintain the status quo and not try to see if there are any improvements that could be done. But you need to ask those questions at this stage of your marriage. What can I do to improve where we are? Now, the chances are that your spouse might say, oh yeah, okay, nothing, I don't need anything. Insist on finding out. If you're not married and you're in a relationship, ask, what can I do to make this, to complement or be more supportive in this relationship? Okay. Then what do I want my marriage to look like in the next 5 years? Where do we see ourselves in this relationship? We can't just be living every day like that. What are our hopes and aspirations? What is it going to look like? Do we want to be that couple that decide, okay, once a year we just go somewhere, we travel together? Do we want to go for retreat somewhere? What exactly do we want to do? How should we look? How should our marriage be? Should we have purchased a home if we haven't already done so? Should we have laid some investment in certain things? Whatever it is in that relationship, both of you know, plan it, write something about it. What is my primary responsibility in this marriage? And I'm careful because in every marriage, it differs. One person might think because you're a woman or because you're a man, this is the responsibility, but you need to document at this stage of my marriage, what is my responsibility? If you are a stay-at-home mom, for example, your responsibility might primarily be to raise these children and to maybe even homeschool them. Then at this stage, for the next so many years, that is your primary responsibility. So you need to document that, because if you don't niche that down, you might find yourself feeling frustrated because you did not identify your primary responsibility at this stage of your marriage. What do I think my spouse's primary responsibility is? So if a woman, for example, thinks that my spouse's primary responsibility is to care for me and care for the family, does the man think the same way? And if it's a man, what do you think your wife's role is? Do you think your wife's role is to go to work, come back, or do her business, come back and still cater for everything in the home, clean the house, cook all the meals? There needs to be an agreement as to what you believe the primary responsibility is at your own particular stage and phase of your marriage. Okay? So relationship with children. As in the case of marriage, two people are involved in bringing up children. And in an ideal situation, you should both be involved in this exercise. But sometimes we might have a situation whereby it's a single parent, or maybe for whatever reason, the situation is such that the other partner is not able to be as involved in the life of a child, maybe because the person travels, whatever it is, we still need to set goals in this domain. And also, if your children are adults or are already married, there is also a section for you when you fill out these questions that I already sent via email. So let's take a look at these great questions. It's not exhaustive. You might want to add yours as well, but these are things for your consideration. What kind of behaviors or attributes do I want my children to exhibit? Your children could even include people that you are raising in your home. They may not be your bio children, your birth children, but maybe they are your children because you are looking after them. Maybe their parents said, okay, they should stay with you, whatever. But anybody in your household, is there any kind of nature or attributes that you want them to exhibit so that they'll say, yes, that person comes from my home? So if I give you my example, right from when we used to have nannies in my home and domestic help, one thing that we always ensured was that they have to know Jesus. And they go to church with us, not just to go to church for going to church's sake, but they also had to be part of the teachings, and we ask questions. When we're holding family devotion, it wasn't only for our children, it was for everybody living in our household, and as a testimony or a testament to that, one of the helps that stayed with us for about 10 years ended up marrying a pastor, a priest, or is he a priest, from the Methodist church. And it was just so amazing for us because she could marry anybody else, but she married a minister of God, which is so amazing. So characters and attributes that we want people to exhibit in our homes, we need to look at these things and see how best. I always say, if you stay in my house, you got to go to church. I don't always accomplish it, but majority of those who have stayed in my home do that. Am I able to do anything about it now? That is, when you're looking at the behaviors, because maybe I have children, they're already out of my home. So I might feel I don't have any power. Is that true? Or can you think deeper and see what you can do? What family traditions should we introduce? Now, we introduced an interesting family tradition many years ago. And I think I got that from, what's his name? Focus on Family. I think I got that from Focus on Family. So on Wednesdays, I don't know why we chose Wednesdays, but it used to be Wednesdays, we would actually dress up and set the table. On that day, I did, the meal wasn't the usual one meal. It would be, what do you call it? Like a buffet, yes. So we'll make several kinds of meals. That's the day for the ice creams, for the multiple meals. We set the table, we use the right cutlery, nice tablecloth. I had this silver ring, and I'll put the table, the napkins in the silver ring. It was, this cutlery we use wasn't the one we normally use. The plates we use wasn't the one we normally use. Basically, we made it a special time. Then after that, this was a difficult one. We used it as an opportunity to ask questions of each other, which was, what is it about me that I'm doing that you don't like or I can improve on? And I remember my help, the one who is now married to a pastor. I thought I was a very nice person. And then when she started saying certain things that she felt, oh, Auntie, I think you should improve in this area. It's difficult. It's humbling. You know, you want to almost start giving an excuse for that behavior. But you see, this was meant to be a safe space. It was meant to be a place where everybody could express themselves, you know. And one of my children told me I shout a lot. And yeah, I did. I used to shout a lot, you know, in trying to correct. So I took those things and I worked on myself. So everybody has their own idea of what a family tradition should be. Some family traditions are, we always go visit, like with us. Christmas Day was always for my parents, and New Year always for my in-laws. So whatever yours is, you work it out. But family traditions are very important because they create meaning, they create connectivity, they create history that is very good for the mind and the growth of any individual. How can I be more intentional about my relationship with my children this coming year? Does my relationship with my children interfere with my marriage? You need to ask those questions. How are my children growing spiritually? We've been doing a series on passing on the baton, and I believe there are many tips we've gotten from that, even when we did sowing seeds now for the future. So we can go back there and still see if there are more things that we could learn. What new skills do I want to introduce to them this coming year? Is it money management, housekeeping, caring for others? You know, there's a family I know, they always get their children involved in all these kitchen soup places where, and then they, yeah, also not-for-profit activities, just to create in the heart of that child something about being caring for others. And I think I once interviewed somebody, Doi, who also said that she does that with her kids. And that's a very good thing to do. But basically, what new skills can you introduce to your children, even as adults? If you look at what I'm doing, for example, just out of talking, you know, you should know your child when you talk. I was able to encourage those in my home to join in this whenever they can. And at least one person has been joining, although he can't join today. Right, are my children growing in a safe space? And what I mean by that is, it's a space free of tension, violence free, abuse-free, because those things create a certain level of trauma in the life of a child that eventually manifests in the future. So you need to check that. Is my child feeling safe? Does my child feel secure? Have I ensured they are not exposed to predators? Good question to ask. And then, is there anything I am observing about any of my children that needs my intervention? Whether your intervention is to get help, you need to just constantly ask those questions. If your children are adults, you want to ask, am I satisfied with my relationship with my adult children? Is this a strained relationship? Are we working in harmony? And this also includes teenage children, by the way. Yes, it includes teenage children. What would I like to improve in the coming year? Do I have a relationship with my grandchildren? If you already have that, what can I do differently this year? How do I want my children to remember me? Do I have a legacy plan? These are thoughts for your consideration as you look at your relationship with your teenage and adult children. Okay? And then extended family is the final one. Who are my extended family? I want us to focus on parents, siblings, in-laws, and you can identify who you call your extended family. How healthy is my relationship with my extended family? My siblings? Is there something going on there? And then, have we set healthy boundaries, in your marriage? Are there healthy boundaries? And then do I, as is you or your two of you together, need to support anyone financially or in any way in the following year? So these are questions again for your consideration so that you are intentional about your relationship with your family. Are there relationships that need to be mended or whatever the case may be? So that's it in terms of the questions we want to look at in all these different relationships. At the end of it, you're going to set, just get 3 goals. Your 3 goals could all be from marriage. You might be in a situation where you're like, you know what, right now, all other relationships, I'm not ready for that. I want to focus on marriage. It might be, okay, I'll pick one from each relationship. Any combination, because you know what is important to you right now. But after you have worked on all these questions, it will help you know where you want to set your goals without putting yourself under undue pressure. And remember, we're using the 1 thing framework, which is what is one thing you can do, such that by doing it, everything becomes easier or unnecessary. We're looking at setting our goals in the next 1 year. Woo, thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much, Pastor Tolu.
Thank you.
No question from me.
Thank you so much. Okay.